Welcome to the First Look seminar, Georgie. It's raining so much about down here in Southern California. I took the rowboat in this morning and I brought two of every animal. I didn't know if it was Noah's Ark time. How are you doing this morning, George?
My neighborhood's gone bananas. A giant tree was blown over. Almost, it didn't hit any cars. I can't believe it. We have a thing in the back. It all blew away. There was rain everywhere. Like you said, Noah's Ark. It was. It's been crazy, but I actually won a pick 5 at Aqueduct. So the storm blew in a winner for me. This is unbelievable.
Well done. And joining us now, I don't know if he's repping the old school Padres uni or what there, but Gino McCall, USC, of course.
Yeah,
Gino
I got my
McCall
Dodger Trojan hat on also. Chappie, what's nice, if you're Noah, that means that you've got a straight line to the big man upstairs. So can you ask him who's going to hit this pick 4 tomorrow, please? Ask the head honcho upstairs if he can pick a winner or two for us. Yeah, we're doing our best to just try to stay bunkered in, but we have some good racing, and I'm going to have some fun making more money than Matt Dinnerman tomorrow. So I'll be able to do that, and I'll be able to show off on Twitter and then, celebrate. So how's that sound, Matt?
I'm going to take it easy on you, Gino, because you got to have your game face on for Big Cap Day. I don't want to shake you up
Thank you.
Next week if you're, a little bit, I want you to have some confidence going into Big Cap week, but so I might not beat you as much as I could, but I'll keep you close, and then I'll sort of pull away the final.
As you say, we've always been pretty personable with each other and had a good relationship. So thank you for taking it easy on me, Matty. I really appreciate that.
Of course, I have a big heart. I have a big heart.
I will be jumping in on that as well. So Matt, I'm going to be taking you on as well. Matt, weather-wise, how are we looking up there? You're the only one working hard all weekend. You just got finished with today's races. We're already looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 9 race cards, first post 115 tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. The weather was really good. It was raining earlier this morning, and it looked like, we've got some issues here with the rain. And then right before first race, Mother Nature, I guess she's a fan of horse racing because she basically parted the skies from all the clouds. You saw blue skies and sun all day, and we're expecting that tomorrow. So I think it's going to rain a little tonight. We've got an all-weather track, no problem. It'll be just fine come tomorrow, and we're expecting some good weather tomorrow. So, and we're looking forward to a good card as well, of course.
I love it. It is the rain is amazing here. It's unseasonably cold. I was talking to Gino earlier in the week. If he grew up here, ever remembered it being this cold, especially near March, it's kind of incredible, huh, Gino? I know
they said there was the first ever. Yeah, it was the first ever blizzard warning that they put out in LA County. They've never put one out, and we were there today. It was very East Coast like, where we were just driving down, the sun was out, and it started raining and then hailing just out of nowhere. And my son was loving it. He was like, "Oh, he couldn't believe it," and there were balls of ice in the truck and everything. So he was having a good time with it. But hey, you know what? Santa Anita has done the right thing. Don't even bother. Right? We know it was going to be really bad. It would have been awful conditions trying to put those races together. They would have been small fields. They said, there's a big, long meet. Let's make sure that next weekend's a great weekend with all these big races. So they made the right call and did the best by the safety of the animal. And for everyone else, right? Trying to get out to the track, that wouldn't have been fun, just trying to get out there and play the races.
Yeah, I'm the only one left here in the office, actually. Everyone went home, actually, because it is quite crazy out there. You wouldn't believe it. People from the Midwest where I grew up are like, oh, it's raining. People are going home. You got to be kidding me. But anyways, next weekend is the Big Cat. Today, let's focus on Northern California. We're going to go over the late pick 4 at Golden Gate Saturday tomorrow. And we will start with the first leg, race 6, Gino. We're going a mile on the main. What are you looking here in race 6?
Yeah, it seems like there are 2 strong pace players in this race. It looks like the 2 and the 3, I think, will both want to be right on the lead and forwardly placed. And then there's a wild card in here, the 6 Blossoming, who I also think will want to be close up. And that's the horse who I wanted to mention. If you're playing a pick 4, I think Blossoming is very intriguing. If you go through her form, She debuted against maiden special weights, and she was just in a little bit too tough at Del Mar against maiden specials. Then when they dropped her in against the maiden claimers, she was ultra competitive. She was just in maybe like a little over her head. And in all three of those races, when she finished 4th, 5th, and 4th, she had a little bit of trouble, like slow starts and a little bit of traffic. Then she went up to Golden Gate on the synthetic in her lone synthetic race. She broke her maiden against maiden special weights. Following that, she ran a bang-up race at Los Alamitos, going a mile where she finished second on the dirt in a 50 starter. That would be a lot tougher than this race. And then after that, I think you can make some legitimate excuses again because those two races at Del Mar were just probably too tough. The competition at the Los Al meet versus the Del Mar meet, a little bit different, right? She was probably facing softer there, and that's why she was more competitive. Now the blinkers on, second start off the long layoff. I think they'll be more forwardly placed, and I know they like the synthetic. So the 6 was the kind of the price play I wanted to make sure to mention. And the other horse I really like in here is the 4. I think that one will get a great setup. I think fits very, very well. Was chasing Lone Speed last out. She exits a race where the top 2, it was a merry-go-round. They were just 1-2 all the way around, so there was no passing. I think she'll get a chance to pass in here a little bit more. I was a little cold on the 5, Gia, who probably is the class of the field, but I'll try to beat that one and use a couple others because she's a deep, deep closer, not necessarily a win machine. So I'll give some others with a little more upside a chance.
So Gia, like you said, making a class relief, getting a little class relief today, dropping in against claimers. And you mentioned Blossoming second off the layoff, going sprint to route 1-for-1 on the synthetic. Maddie, before we get to your opinions, how, for those who don't watch Golden Gate as much, does the synthetic play pretty fairly to front runner, closer, any type of any Lone Speed? What's the any bias up there at all?
You know what's interesting is when I first got here 6 years ago, when I was just the paddock analyst, I wasn't even the announcer at that point. Frank Miramati was the announcer at that point. Of course, he's down with you guys now. And I would always look for horses off the pace. The only way you could possibly win is if you got a clear lead. If there was any sort of pressure on the lead, you had no shot. But as I've started calling races here and over time, I found this track to be a lot more fair than it was 5-6 years ago. And I think that's something to note because I feel like a lot of people that maybe don't watch us every day, they may sort of feel, oh, well, synthetic, it's going to play towards off the pace, but not necessarily. Like today, we had a few gate to wire winners and we had a few horses come from well out of it. So it was a very fair track this afternoon. But I would say if there are biases, usually you can tell them in the early part of the card. So if you see horses all day coming on the outside 3-4 races in a row, it's something you might want to note. But for the most part, I see this as a pretty fair surface overall. And I think it really plays as, hey, whoever gets the type of trip based on the pace, they've got a good shot to win based on, if the pace is really fast and contentious, someone from off the pace can win. If you get a clear lead, we saw it in race 7 today, America Great got a clear, easy lead, and he took it to him. So I think it's been a fair track recently the last few years, more fair than I've ever remembered it, and I think it's going to stay that way.
Like you said, that horse today in the 7th went, I believe, almost 51 and change for the half. So they were crawling on the front end, that's for sure. Well, Gino's trying to beat the morning line favorite Gia, the 5 at 9-5. What are you looking at here in this first leg?
Well, I'm sort of a team Gino on this one. I like Blossoming a bit as well. I wish I could give you a little slap in the face and give you something else. But, I see a lot what Gino sees. I think State Forest and Team Concept are two horses that want to be on the lead. Team Concept can stalk. She's very inconsistent. She can press the pace, but she's not one that really wants to sit on the tail of a horse. If anything, she can press, sit a half length off, but that's about it. The thing about Blossoming is I think this is that last race was a sprint down south, and I think that's really key because it's telling you this gal, she's a router if you look at her form. So I don't think they necessarily had any intentions of winning that last race. I think it was, hey, let's just get her running the form cycle off this break, get some conditioning into her, and second time out, when we get her routing, we're going to put her in a route, we're going to put her in the right spot where we think she can be competitive and she can win, and I think she can get a good trip, and she ran a very good race when she broke her maiden up here, so we know she likes this track, but I will note she's running out of her conditions today. This is an N2X race. This is not a non-2 life race, so I tend to have a hard time pulling the trigger on horses running out of conditions in this type of scenario, but I look at her best races, and I think they stack up, even if maybe she's not the most seasoned. There are others that are older runners that have run a lot more, but I think Blossoming's a good pick. And I'm sort of with Gino on Gia. I think that last race, she didn't run a step. I didn't like the way she galloped out at all, and I think she's totally a play against. Stoic Luna number 4 is one. She ran poorly last time. It was a disappointing run, but if Ed Moger can find a quick fix with her, I think Stoic Luna number 4 is one that can do some damage in here as well, because she's got the class. She just hasn't run her best race the last couple races. So I'm hoping that she can run her best, because she's interesting to me as well.
All right, Georgie, you're the numbers man here. What are the sheets are saying? They're kind of both looking towards Blossoming, stretching out today at 10-1. What are you looking at?
Before I start, I just want to say that, Matt, I love everything you do as a track announcer over there in Golden Gate. My hat's off to you. You're one of my favorites, and it's not just because you're on the show here. There's so many track announcers I've listened to, especially, and I've done some work as an analyst on camera, that don't say a word. Not a word. Some of them don't even call the horses going into the gate. They just go quiet, and then they're all in. And I'm like, what? You give so much insight, and you're on site. So you have, I just love everything you do. And you say hello to the fans, and you say hello to, everybody watching. I just want to say how much I like you. And I think you're doing a fine job.
I appreciate that, George. I really do. And like all of us here, we don't, this isn't work for us. We love what we do. And the thing is, when you're a track announcer or a racing analyst, our goal is to provide the best possible information for the players and the fans. And in announcing, there are different styles and different ways about going about it. But I enjoy giving a little bit extra to help handicappers and fans sort of understand what the race is all about and what things are like here at Golden Gate, and give good information. So I really appreciate that, and we'll keep the good times rolling up here.
Jackie, were you and I both waiting for Georgie to to play the joke? I was waiting for the punchline. I was like, he was going to say all of that, but as a gambler, Matt, you stink. I don't like the right? I was waiting for that one.
Well, once I knew there was no but, what I was going to say was we echo the sentiments, but also Gino is the happiest man on this show, because George has been ripping on Gino for about a month straight now. So instead of tearing into him, he's giving you kudos, Matt. So it's terrific.
Gino's the punching bag around.
Exactly.
Me.
I'll take him.
I'll take him.
Georgie, do you have a play though after you're done, giving all these terrific comments about Matt? What do you like here in the first leg?
And I want to say your analysis and Gino's analysis, both of your analysis on this race, they were both absolutely wrong. Okay.
There we go. There
is the point. An absolute single for me is number 5, Gia. I love Gia's chances in this race. The thoroughgraph numbers, you go down the list, the best thoroughgraph numbers by far. Oh, she's doing a bad race last time. Ooh, big deal. Put a line through that race. I think Gia's going to destroy this field. I love Tim McKenna. He's one of my favorites to bet on. That guy, when I was a jockey agent, he had a string come down to Del Mar, and that guy, he's a sharp trainer. That guy knows how to get horses in the winner's circle. He don't play around. He is here to win races. And there's some, I'm going to say it. There's some fishy trainers out there in Golden Gate and all over the country. Tim McKenna's not one of them. He's solid as a rock, and I love him. So to me, I'm singling this one, owned by Thelma and Louise Stables. I hope I don't jump off a cliff right off the bat.
George, if only you had an opinion on the show, that would really help things along. All right, let's move on to the second leg, which is race 7. We're going 5.5 panels, non-winners of 2 lifetime. Matt, we'll start with you. Who do you like here in the second leg?
It's actually a pretty peculiar race, because you've got My Legal Bet in this race, who looks like a standout on paper. The question is, she takes 4.5 months off, and why is she in for a 12-5 tag after only losing by a few lengths to Allowance Company? It just, you sort of sit there and you scratch your head and you go, well, this gal, she's sick. She's only run 5 times. She's had a few layoffs along the way, quite a few. Is this Jamie Thomas, who's a very sharp trainer? Speaking of sharp trainers, we have plenty of them. Tim McKenna, I agree with you, George. Definitely a really sharp trainer and a good horseman. Jamie's also very sharp. Is this one of those things where he shrugs his shoulders and he goes, listen, we've had our battles with this mare. We've had to be patient. She's given us some good runs. If somebody takes her, let's just run her. Let's get a win. And if somebody takes her, let's shrug our shoulders. Is he doing that, or is she in for 12-5 because there's a big time negative here, and we're going to sit there after on the gallop out and say, okay, that's exactly why she was in for 12-5. I suppose that's why the claiming game is such a poker game. I mean, and it's a compliment to Jamie because I can't quite figure out, is this just to get a win and just, for so long they've been working with this mare with soundness, it appears, and I can't quite figure it out. I think she's the one to beat. I think she's the one to beat. I think Autism Innocence number 6 off a layoff, another one that certainly merits respect in here. I would say if anybody at a price I'm looking at, I would look at number 3, Creating Memories. You broke her maiden first out. She runs well fresh. I think that the pace in this race is going to be moderate at best, so that could be a problem for her because she's a closer, but she's coming off a layoff. They claimed her out of Kentucky. She had some physical issues their last couple starts, actually. I know that, and they had to put her to the sideline. So if she comes back as a new filly and at her best, then maybe Creative Memories can surprise a little bit here. But I don't have a strong opinion, but my legal bet's the horse to beat.
Yeah, my legal bet's one of those ones where we wouldn't be surprised if she won by 6 or, ran up the track a little bit. But that's the poker game they're playing, as he mentioned there, George. Is somebody actually, it's 12-5. It's only 12-5, but it's still somebody going to pluck in 12-5 for a 6-year-old that's only running her 6th lifetime start. What are you thinking here, Georgie?
No, I feel like you feel this one could win for fun or come in last. It's just, it's one that you cannot be confident in singling in your pick 4 for sure. You got to spread it. This is a definite spread because can't throw that one out. You can't, single that one. So she's a, conundrum in this race. So I got to use her, but I'm going to use some other ones as well, like Autism Innocence, which Autism Innocence is certainly on Thorograph numbers, fits this race like a glove. Certainly is one to fear. Mary Margaret is good. And I'm probably going to use, 4, 5, 6, and maybe throw in the 1. The only thing I question about the 1 is the jockey, Kevin Radke, because Kevin Radke called me and wanted me to be his agent.
Oh,
so
God.
He's got some questionable decision-making processes in his, so
not sure about his judgment.
Him.
Yeah.
But when he called me up and said, "You want to be my jockey agent?" I was like, "Oh man, I'm not betting this guy anymore." I'm only kidding. But he did call me, and he is really good. That guy's good, yeah. Kevin Radke. He's good, man. And I wish I could have gone to Northern California and been his agent. I would have been fine with that. He's an excellent jockey. Always seems to put him in the right spot. 8-1. Whenever a line maker makes a horse 8-1, he just doesn't know what to do with him. He's not 20-1. He's not 2-1. Whenever I see an 8-1, because I did the line at Fresno for a while, it's because I don't know what to do with him. So 8-1. We give him 8-1. So I think he's got an upset chance. I'm going to use 1, 4, 5, and 6.
Gino, like we said, once again, my legal bet. And also Autism Innocence, first time in for a tag, hasn't ran since last May. What do you do with those 2 favorites? Are you spreading as well?
And what makes it sort of difficult with my legal bet, if you were trying to beat that runner, you don't have a whole lot of really exciting prospects, right? Your second choice is a horse who's also off a long layoff, who I think makes a lot of sense. And the Wong barn can absolutely get horses ready to fire off the bench. They've had 10 straight works for Autism Innocence. And if you just key off the sprint races for that one, then the form looks even better. So definitely the 6 on the ticket for me. Both of you mentioned the 3 Creating Memories, who's total wild card. This is a barn who can get horses ready off of this type of a long layoff too. They're 8 for 48 over the last 5 years off the plus 180 day layoff. It sort of looks like they're just kind of searching for where she fits, right? They're kind of just trying to see where does she belong. And that's a game you have to play. It's not always linear. I think if you're playing a pick 4, she's probably one you want to use, especially if you're spreading. And I agree with Georgie on Something Nefarious from the rail. If she's dropping in class, She's actually shown sprint speed before. If she can get the lead cutting back, she might be like a little bit stubborn to pass late in here. And you have a horse like the 7 who I think might be okay relinquishing the lead if somebody else went early and trying to sit off a little. And I could see the 1 getting a bit brave. So lots of 1, 3, and 6s for me. Major questions on the 5. Like, I could use the 5 on my ticket because I don't use Gia in the prior race, right? So I don't mind throwing in one of these chalks in a couple of the races. I just don't want to be chalk all the way through like George.
Right. Yeah. the pace is.
Look, whatever Gino says from now on, he's going to be out once Gia wins. So really, just who cares? Just pick them all.
Well, then you know what? Time for a pick 3. Time for a pick 3.
Like you did mention, pace-wise, it does look like the others will have something to chase. You got to figure the 1's probably going to go. The 7 does have 21 and change speed on the front end, so it looks like there's going to be some pace to set everybody else up in this race. But it looks like everybody's leaning towards spreading in leg 2. All right, let's go to the 8th, Georgie. We're going back to you, a mile and a 16th. Very interesting field here. Looks like the 7 with two convincing wins at Golden Gate's going to get a lot of play here. Where are you heading with what do the numbers say, Jordy?
Well, the numbers are pretty even though he's got, a couple of nice wins. This is one of the most evenly matched races. And if I learned anything about betting Golden Gate, is in a pick 4 sequence, in a pick 5 sequence, in any kind of sequence, there's always a horse that you scratch your head and say, how did that horse win? They come up with some bombs every now and then. So part of whenever I formulate a pick 4 is I always, if I can't find a single, I don't even bet it. So I like G as a single, and I have to have an all race because, man, there's a bomb it seems like every pick 4, pick 5 sequence, at least one of them is a bomb that you go, how did that horse win? So this to me is going to be a race where I'm using them all. I think you got to find an all race. You also have to find a single race. And I can make a case, Jonathan Wong, we were talking about great trainers. We all know Jonathan Wong. We played poker with him. The guy certainly is a great poker player, and that's what he does with the claiming game and stuff. He's a great trainer as well, so you got to use Jonathan Wong. That's no question about it. Sam Calvario has gotten hot all of a sudden everywhere. He wasn't always hot, but Sam Calvario, I've seen him winning races. So, that runner's got, he's a ghost. So I'm going all. I got no big, strong opinion. I'm using all in this race.
All right. Well, Georgie's hitting the all button, Gino. What are you looking at from a pace standpoint there? She's a ghost, maybe going to the front?
Absolutely in the pick 4 for me, because there's a chance that this horse could clear. I think she is the quickest, but she did show, like in her last race, some of these same ones were able to run her down. But if she's going to be in that like 6-1 and above range and, turning for home, she might have a length on the field. I want her on my ticket at that price with that possibility. The 1 Reverie, who just ran her down last time out, I would also be using. I would throw in the 6, who I probably would have as my top selection in here. That's Undisturbed. Undisturbed now will run second start off the short break, second time for the New Connections. This horse loomed up into contention. Things got a little bit tight. It wasn't like a whole bunch of trouble, but as this horse was tiring, was in tight, and there's a better race in there. I think this next effort will be a little bit better than that last one. So I'm going to throw in the 6 as well, Undisturbed. That's a horse who had been running at Keeneland, at Churchill in some pretty good races. There's a little back class there with Undisturbed. So yeah, those 3. The 7's the obvious horse who you mentioned, and real versatility. What's been impressive with her is her 2 wins came in totally different ways. So that she's super adaptable and probably able to be placed like anywhere in the race.
Maddie, no one's talked about the 2-horse Clock Strikes 12 yet. What do you do with a horse like that? Is only 3-1, but a deep closer, likes to win races, but hasn't found the winner's circle in quite some time. Are you using that horse in your sequence here?
She's an interesting character because she was so primed to run a huge race in the Miss America Stakes 3 starts ago. And she had a disastrous trip, and it's too bad. I don't think she would have won, but she would have run second. She would have run a huge race. The problem is she hasn't really been able to sort of run back to that energy level. And the thing about her, like you said, she's a deep closer. it's interesting because there was a time quite a few years ago when she was, I think, 3 or 4 years old, and Jonathan claimed her off of Patty Gallagher, and she was a little more tactical. But now, as she's gotten older, it's interesting how horses can be like this sometimes. They change their running style, and she's one that just likes to sit well off and make a run. And 2 starts ago, I talked to the owner, or not the owner, but a very close friend of Jonathan Wong's, who has a good handle on the whole barn. She went 25-1, 50 and change. I know this is a little bit of a long spiel, but I want to tell you the story. I said, well, it was going to be hard for her to win, going 25-1, 50-3, and coming from, let's see here, 7 lengths off it. And the guy goes, no, the problem was she wasn't far off enough. She needed to be farther away.
Wow.
From the speed. So I paused for a second. This is just she's a mare that just needs to sit way behind and come with a run. And I think that 1 1/16 is a positive for her. The question is she going to have enough ground to make up? And I don't think there's going to be a huge pace for her in here. And that's why She's a Ghost is a bit attractive. I'm not going to make her my top pick. She's a Ghost. I think she's probably my second pick, just because I think she might be a tad bit better at that flat mile. She's won once at a 1 1/16, but I feel she's a little bit better at the flat mile. But the pace scenario looks to be in her favor. I think Undisturbed, Gino, I sort of think she's going to show a little more speed today, as we've seen when she ran in Kentucky. And I will say Signorina Marisi might not be a fantastic bet as the 2-1 morning line favorite if she goes off favorite, but she's a very nice filly and she's a must-use on tickets for me, Signorina Marisi. She's very tactical. She won Gate to Wire 2 starts ago. Last time she stalked the pace and beat Ascendancy, who came back to win a first-level allowance. So I think Signorina Marisi is the one to beat, but She's a Ghost one I like. Clock Strikes 12 has the talent, but the trip is a major concern for me with her.
Yep, and like you said, Signorina Marisi seems to be able to sit anywhere, be on the lead. Visually, is that horse look very impressive in both of her wins? You know, sometimes it's not all about the time, it's how they do it. You watch them, you call all the races, so you've seen them. She is impressive visually as she looks on paper.
I think she is. I mean, her maiden win was very good. She got everything her own way on the lead. That didn't tell me too much, but what did tell me something was her gallop out that day when she broke her maiden. She was about 10 lengths ahead by middle of the clubhouse turn and wanted to keep going. So I was like, whoa, monster gallop out from her. And I'm sort of in the middle on gallop outs. I think sometimes they can be overrated. Other times they can tell you a lot about a horse. But last time out, I loved the versatility, and they came home really fast, those top 2, really just physically on track, watching from the eye. I mean, they were moving. They were coming home fast for the Tapeta. So visually, I like what I see from Signorina Marisi. Yeah.
All right, we move on to the 9th and final, and this is the last leg of the pick 4. Gino, we're going to come back to you going 1 1/16. Do you have a single here to finish it off, or what are you looking at?
Actually, the opposite. I'll have 2 price horses that I definitely will be using to try to close out. Both the 5 and the 7 are going to be on my tickets. I think the 5's going to take him as far as he can go. This is a horse who's stretching out from a sprint last time out. He was right on the lead sprinting, and if you notice, he's a 5-year-old now who only has 5 career races. So there have been some issues for him just getting to the racetrack. But when he's been on the track, he's actually performed very well. His win came going along on the turf. So I actually think stretching out, he might be able to go just a little slower early, relax, and get that more comfortable clip up front. That might be really what he likes. And it's the second start back, putting 2 starts together after a long, long layoff. And then the 7, State of the Union, comes out of a race where this horse was tucked in third inside, was just about a length off, was waiting and had absolutely nowhere to go. By the time they got some room, it was just too late, and the top runners had already separated. But State of the Union has a little something there also, and will now move into the Steve Sherman barn. He doesn't claim a whole ton of runners. Honestly, over the last 5 years, I think there were only like 17 horses he's claimed. He's won with one of them. But with this barn, you know they can win with the right type of horse in the right type of situation. So a couple price horses that will be on my ticket to close out will definitely be the 5 and the 7.
All right, Maddie. So Gino's going with a couple prices, one off of a long, long layoff, another who had some traffic troubles last time. Which way are you looking here in the final race?
Well, those are the 2 prices I like. I think Stormin Galileo, he ran a huge race last time. I mean, this horse is not a sprinter, and he was running out of his conditions. He was in an N2X race, and I think I was surprised he ran that well, and I think this horse can run a little bit. In State of the Union, I want to note the trip. I remember this trip very well because it says here he has traffic of 3/16. He did. He had to wait a little bit, but he had a full furlong to run on. So I'm going to sit here and say if he got a perfect trip, he would not have won anyway that day. That said, Steve, like you said, doesn't claim that often. He's a sharp trainer himself. So I think this is an interesting move. And I also think when you go from 20 N2X to starter 50, going a route of ground, it's very much sort of a hand-in-hand type of condition up here at Golden Gate. Usually when you're in a starter 50 races, for example, you either win and you go to first level allowance, or your trainer says not good enough for first level, we're going to go for 20 N2X. So that's important for the players to know. So I don't think this is a huge bump up or down in class for State of the Union. I think it's pretty level going from one condition to the other. And I think those two horses are really interesting price horses. And I even think El Joy is a horse that could do some good. Tim Bellis has become very good first off the claim. And I think El Joy is a horse that likes this track. He just doesn't win that often. I'm going to spread in this race. If I'm playing a ticket, I'm spreading 100%. I think Rio King, could he win? Yeah, but his race sort of came out of nowhere. L'Enfant D had a disastrous trip 2 starts ago, and he got bet really hard in the early stages, and then he came back recently at this level, and he ran okay, but he was third. But I think this is the most competitive race on the card, and it's a spread race for me.
So spread race for Matt, and Gino likes a couple bombs. That means George is going to tell you guys you're both full of it. Georgie, who do you like here in the ninth and final?
I would never say that. All right, you two guys are full of it. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh. Got brown eyes.
Two horses that stand out on Thorograph numbers, and that's number 2, L'Enfant Dit, and Rio King. And those are the only two I'm using. The other ones, forget about it. There's a lot of speed in this race, too. Some of those runs that you were talking about, Stormin Galileo is probably going to be close to the lead. State of the Union is going to be close. You got some runners that are going to be close. But I talked to you about Sam. Like, I've known Sam for a long time, and he's hot right now. Where did that race come from? It's because Sam is hot. I've never seen Sam this hot. Sam is hot. So I used him before. I'm using him again. I don't know if I told you, Sam is hot. And that was by far the best Thorograph number in the race. I mean, a repeat of that, they're all running for second. So got to use him. And L'Enfant Dit, all of a sudden, the last 2 races were really, really strong. It's just some strong Thorograph numbers. Miotti the Master, as I call him, one of the best trainers, Miotti the Master. And you never want to leave him out. That horse is looking really good. So I'm using the 2 and the 4.
So what you're saying, George, is this Sam is hot.
This Sam is hot, man.
All right, Matty. So first post tomorrow. Give us a little quick update on the whole weekend. First post tomorrow, 1:15. What can we look forward to the next couple of days at Golden Gate?
1:15 first post, 9 races tomorrow afternoon. Sun's expected to be out tomorrow, so that's a good thing as well. We've got that featured 8th allowance race, and then race number 9, a good race to end our day, late daily double. We talked about that, late pick 4, early pick 5, both days, every day here at Golden Gate. It's a low 14% takeout bet, and that's a really good bet. I've made some good money on that bet, giving out on-air tickets simply because the takeout's low and you get overlay payouts. So races 1 through 5, you want to pay attention to the early card as well. And then in race, race 8 on Sunday, a very good, I believe it's the 8th race, a good allowance race to get towards the end of the racing week. We've got some, actually, it's race 8 on Sunday. We've got a really good allowance race for routers. And then race 9, we're going to come back with a maiden special weight. So some good quality races on Sunday, and we're looking forward to it.
All right, well, all eyes will be on Golden Gate this weekend. And Matty, you're doing a great job. We'll be watching you tomorrow, and then tune in the weekend after. We'll have racing at Golden Gate, and of course, it'll be Big Cap weekend here. So look to join us again, gentlemen. Thanks a lot. Good luck to everybody playing. We'll see you again shortly. Thanks, guys.
Good luck.